Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight for our pep talk, Unlocking Your Inner Fountain, Peptides for Longevity and Glow. I am Danielle Lee. I've been with LEMD for just
Mr. Walsh.
4 months, I think. Um, 4 full months, 4.5 months now. I have hit advanced manager was my highest rank. And what I do here in my personal life is I am a local GLP-1 and peptide educator with my own consulting company, getting ready to open a co-founded peptide and medical weight loss clinic for longevity and regenerative health and medicine. So let me introduce my co-host, or let Allison, you can introduce yourself here. That
Okay.
would be great.
Okay, I'm Allison Lett. I have been with LEMD, oh gosh, since I guess March, maybe somewhere in there. I as well, I'm at advanced manager, like an inch away from senior manager. I'm like trying really hard. I've been a practicing pharmacist for in just about every aspect you can think of for going on 36 years now. Yes, I started when I was 12. And I have honestly never, we were talking about this before the recording. I've never seen anything like the peptides that we have here. And that's what's so rewarding to me is seeing patients actually, get results relatively quickly, and prove health and longevity from the inside out. It's totally different than conventional medicine. With conventional medicine, you pretty much are basically treating a symptom, or you're treating some type of objective lab value or something, or even subjective value if you're talking about like psychiatry or something like that. But the difference is you're treating this symptom, and then it basically doesn't take into account how intelligent the body is and how it's always trying to reach homeostasis, which is totally different than peptide therapy when you're introducing compounds to the body that they actually recognize. And so it's sort of like a seamless improvement where, you know, for the most part, the body doesn't have to sit there and have issues. It recognizes what's going on. These peptides are sending signals. It's cell to cell communication, and it's just truly a paradigm shift in wellness and longevity, and one that I believe truly is here to stay. And I'm thankful for it. I can't wait to see where it's going.
I love that. I love that. And I think too, Allison and I kind of quickly discovered that we both come from the pharmaceutical industry. I spent nearly 20 years there as an award-winning sales representative, district manager, regional
Yeah.
director. And interestingly enough, when I left that space, I shifted all the way over into the air quotes natural and holistic world where, you know what, if it didn't grow on a tree and didn't come from the earth, or come from an animal, like it was just not good for you. But then I started to look around me at everybody. And I'm like, how come everybody around me is getting sicker and sicker? And why is it we're trying to convince ourselves that just because we get to midlife, that we're supposed to settle for this fluff and the sag and the low energy? And I'm like, I don't really subscribe to that. And I had this one friend, and I'd always take whatever wellness or holistic product that I was aligned with, and I'd take it to her. And she's like, no. And she was a nurse practitioner in a med spa. And I'm like, what am I missing? I'm missing the boat. And I'm like, why are these med spa ladies looking so stinking good?
Yeah.
And, they're not crazy into the pharmaceuticals, but they're certainly not open to the completely natural supplement world. Like, what am I missing? Oh, and then I realized it was the peptides. And then you get into, and it's so interesting because you and I both have the exact, what was the first thing you ordered? Because it was the same thing I ordered too.
And first thing I ordered, I had actually been researching menopause, obviously, I'm 59, and I've been researching menopause for about 5 years, pretty aggressively because nobody knows what the devil they're doing with it. And so it's interesting to me that I had researched GLP-1s and everything that went along with menopause, and the two peptides that stuck out in my research was NAD and GLP-1. So I had already lost about 30 pounds microdosing before I came with LEMD. And when I came with LEMD, I um, really had already researched NAD a lot and knew that I needed injectable form of it for it to be to get the best benefits. So that was the first thing that I ordered. And like I told you earlier, I will be on NAD until God calls me home. I'm just saying, it just It is it's amazing
So
to
tell
me.
me what you felt when you took the NAD. If you've had
Well,
such
it
a
took,
beautiful
I'll be
experience,
honest
let
with you,
everyone
I
know about
think,
that.
yeah, I think the thing with NAD is, it's not a quick fix. I mean, there's a lot of times when people, they think that, they relate peptide therapy, I think a lot of times to conventional medicine where you're going to take something one time and feel it, and that's not necessarily the case. Um, it is actually, you know, as we know, we've heard this many times that, NAD is one of those things that we have in our bodies and then it goes down with age. So by the time you're 35 or so, you've got 40% of your stores are gone. By the time you're my age, you're without, And so I think sometimes when you're so depleted, it might take a while for you to get the results. And that was the same, that was what happened with me. And I remember where I was when I thought, oh gosh, I feel something different. I was actually in a cardio class, weight bearing cardio class. We're doing weights. And when I started to lift, I thought, okay, this is different. I felt something different. I can't really describe it, but from then on, it was just I knew that it was a benefit to me. I felt energized. My brain fog was gone. I felt, I could wake up and I felt energized. It was not like I was dragging. I didn't have. I just felt better, and I think the combination of all of it too. The NAD was just, it's not a peptide; it's a coenzyme. So if you think about back way in the back of like time where we actually took biology, and you think about the Krebs cycle, you need nutrients and coenzymes to convert food to ATP and energy, and that's where we get NAD working. It's increases that energy at the cellular level in the mitochondria. And so it basically, if you think in terms of longevity, you're basically as healthy or live as long as your mitochondria are in good shape and functioning. And so to me, NAD was that particular compound that you know gave me what I needed. I was actually lacking. And that's the thing too. I mean, not everybody's going to have the same results. That's why I love peptide therapy. What I need may not be what somebody else needs. And that's the beauty of it. Not that somebody's going to have a side effect from it. It just may or may not be what they need. They might need something else. So that's the beauty of, I think, stacking. Some of these things work so synergistically. I mean, your GLP-1s with NAD is such a synergistic thing. We're going to go over some others, the GHK-Cu and glutathione. If you look at all of those together, the benefits a lot of times are very similar. You've got anti-inflammatory actions, you've got repair and recovery that comes with all of those. So if you've got this like synergy with all of those, that's why I think stacking is such a benefit in some of these things that you have. That's what's leading to all these improvements. That's what's leading ultimately to homeostasis. And I think that's why we feel so much better.
And there's a couple things I kind of want to piggyback on there, Allison. Thanks for that. That was really great. Number one, these peptides they tend to be experiential products. And what I mean by experiential is when you take these peptides, you should have an experience. You should have a noticeable benefit effect from it, whether it's in the first couple weeks, like in the case of oftentimes NAD or GHK-Cu, or maybe it might be 6, 7 weeks down the road, depending on what level of depletion your body was
Yeah.
in prior to taking it, right? So you should have an experience with this. If for some reason you don't necessarily have an experience, not really much of a noticeable effect, the likelihood of you having any sort of negative effect or negative side effect is really quite minimal. And that's exactly why I want everyone to understand the medical intakes and the medical questionnaires that are built in to the website based on the specific product are so our telehealth team can deem very quickly if you are an appropriate candidate for treatment, if you're right in, in terms of medical necessity, and you would probably do well with it. That doesn't mean that you are going to have an amazing experience, although it is
Mhm.
likely, but the likelihood of you having a negative experience is so minimal because peptides are pretty safe. Let me back it up real quick and just give you a basic 101, everybody, on peptides. What is a peptide, right? A peptide is it's a signaling little messenger in your body. We have them. We all know what amino acids are, right? Peptides are little chains of amino acids. So if you have less than 50, that little chain is called a peptide. If you have more than 50 amino acids, it turns into a protein. So we know amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Peptides are just tinier little messaging signals, and there's a peptide for everything. There's a peptide for wound healing, skin repair, sleep, for losing weight, for libido. There's all sorts of things, right? And that's why when we have these peptides in our body, our body tends to do really, really well with them. So, also with NAD, when I'm doing consults for people coming into our clinic or such, and again, I want to put the disclaimer out there, we are here as LEMD representatives. We are not providing medical advice. We are giving you information on peptides, but by no means is any of this meant to diagnose or treat any specific medical condition. We have a medical team and the background, and that's what that medical assessment is for. But we will give you very specific information about the peptides. So when we have a client who comes in and they are suffering from autoimmune, Hashimoto's, low energy, dealing with some type of chronic inflammatory disease, number one almost always is NAD, because that
Mhm.
patient tends to get that high experience, that boost in energy from it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, I've had um, a couple of Hashimoto patients that have done quite well. And, piggyback off what you said, I think I was 3 to 4 weeks in before I felt that feeling from NAD. Looking at BPC 157, TB 500, for example, I used it. I had some hip pain. I used that, and it was like 6 or 8 weeks. A lot of times, because you're dealing with actually repair. When you have to repair something, it's going to take a little bit longer. You see those effects. And that. I think that's what's so huge, especially when you start stacking some of these things. But I just love the fact that when you take something, expecting, just like the medical provider has told you, expecting those things to happen, but knowing that if they don't, you're not being harmed. Unlike conventional medicines, if you take a medication, like for example, if somebody's prescribed Lipitor for cholesterol, and it's not a benign medication. That's why we have to check every 3 months. We have to check for elevated liver function tests and all this kind of stuff. So you don't have to worry about potential harm to any part of your body when you're taking peptides, because the body recognizes them, because they're actually already there in and that's what's the beauty of it. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. It
I
really
love
is.
it. And that, and it's what they tend to call NAD plus is the fountain of youth peptide. But let's switch gears, because one of my ride or dies is going to be GHK-Cu. And
Yep.
this peptide, when I started it, I am telling you, within the first 2 weeks, because what I do is Zoom calls all day long. And I run some networking groups and I do a lot of one-on-one conversations with people. And they're like, "What are you doing with your skin? Because your skin is literally glowing." I'm like, I have never in my life used a product that I've had such a quick turnaround where people are like, "What are you doing?" Like, it
Yeah.
was that noticeable. And that was before I added the Elevate skincare.
I'm
So
with you. Same thing.
GHK-Cu copper peptide, it is blue. Please don't be alarmed if you order GHK-Cu and it comes blue. That is normal. That is the copper. This is the peptide that can be a little irritating to the skin. It does have a histamine response to it. If you have a sulfur allergy, they're going to tell you do not take it because it does contain sulfur. But this is the wound repair, skin, hair, and nails anti-aging peptide. We're kind of talking about all the anti-aging peptides, but this is the one specifically where if you go to an esthetician, you have a glam girl, you're having makeup done, whatever that is, people are going to stop and ask you, like, what is going on with your skin? Because it is on fire,
Oh,
like in the
I'll
best ways.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you that is my favorite peptide that we have. And to me, it's you're anti-aging from the inside out. And I too use the serum. The serum, if you haven't tried the serum, you're missing out. I promise you, it is, if you put the highest in quality ingredients plus prescription grade ingredients in one thing, and I will promise you, it is alleviated 4 steps of my skincare regimen. It is saving me money. I mean, the price point on this thing for 2 months supply for $149, I promise you, I have spent way more than that on things that did not deliver anywhere near what I'm getting with this.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought that
I,
up,
it's
because
very good.
it used to be like I was doing like 7 or 8 things at night to go to bed, and I'm like,
Yes,
I would dread, like, oh my God, I gotta take my makeup off and then I gotta do all this skincare. I
I
take
do
my
the same.
makeup off. I put one little squirt of this
Yes.
bottle on my skin, and then I just put like a moisturizer or like a tallow over. That is it.
That's it. That's it.
So much time and effort saved.
That is it. I was the same way. I dreaded it. And there were times, when you fall asleep with your makeup on, you're like, oh my God, that's like the no, because you just dreaded it for so long until you're tired. I love this stuff. And to be honest with you, when I first started I think GHKCU launched for us in like March, and I ordered it immediately. I started with that, and then in June, I think is when I got the serum. So the interesting story is this is my fountain of youth peptide, I promise you. And it is, I got Botox in January of this year. So I go to the guy that does my Botox in July, and he looks at me and he says, "What have you been doing? You've been getting it somewhere else." I'm like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Okay, what have you, because you don't need it." And I'm sitting there going, "Okay, we're on to something here." Because it wasn't that, I mean, he gave me some just because had driven so far to see him. But, the firmness in my skin, the tone that my skin had, I did not have the crow's feet that I normally had, when he would, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I felt better in my skin, if that makes any sense. My skin's never looked better. I'm 59 years old. It's never looked better. I don't even like wearing makeup anymore, because like I put my skincare on in the morning. I'm like, I really don't want to put makeup on, because you feel good. Your skin is just looking so much better. The beauty of GHKCU, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it's probably one of the most tested and studied peptides out there. It's been out since like 1973. And it is a small peptide. It's only got three amino acids, your glycine, lysine, and histidine. And then you've got the copper attached as a cofactor. So it really is a small peptide. And the beauty of that is it can actually penetrate that cell wall, get into the nucleus of the cell, and actually do some, all kind of gene expression and gene, all kind of changes there. The beauty of that is we've got like 4,000 genes in the body. So if you take GHKCU and you're basically resetting those genes to a more youthful setting, I'm like, hey, sign me up for that. I'm good with that, because now we can really do something about, anti-aging at the base level. And GHKC is no different than any of the other peptides. We in our 20s, we've got like a concentration of maybe, I think it's 200 micrograms per liter. You get to your 50s and 60s and you've got a concentration of like 80 micrograms per liter. So it really decreases a lot. And therefore that's why we're aging faster. When we can turn those settings back on for those genes and really help with, the inflammation, anti-inflammatory properties of this peptide are incredible. The healing properties of this peptide are incredible. You're healing from the inside out. When your skin looks good, then you feel, but you know that somebody's better on the inside when the outside looks good.
100%. And what you're talking about with these healing properties, right, is when we deal with when you have like a wound care clinic or you have doctors who are actually advanced in their practices and they need wounds to heal quickly.
Absolutely.
That this is part of that aftercare plan, right? Because it's not just about the glow up of the skin, although
Oh no.
that's what we're talking about because that's what people stop you on the street going, what are you doing for your skin? And it's so
Yeah,
much easier being in just a little pinprick injection. But it's a wound repair. So if you have
it is.
somebody who's going through surgery, like it's a great post-surgical repair and healing agent to advance how quickly you're going to recover from a surgery. So again, very little potential downside, so
Oh,
much
I see.
potential upside.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I will challenge everybody on the call to actually go to PubMed and just put in your search engine GHKCU, and the benefits that you'll see that will come up in clinical studies that have been done. I mean, from, neuroprotection, for downregulation of apoptosis, where we're not actually, cells aren't dying. There's even anti-cancer and tumor suppression data out there. This compound is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. There's so many things. I mean, I don't even think we know what all it does.
Oh, I know.
It's
And the
incredible.
interesting thing is this is not a technically an FDA approved
No,
peptide. But here's what I like to, and I just talked
we're
about.
doing so much more than FDA medicine here.
Well,
We
and
really.
that's the thing, right? There's the restriction of having to go through those processes from the FDA. And again, guys, this is just a discussion for your background knowledge.
Right.
Please understand that because we have a background in our medical system and regulatory and understanding that, it doesn't mean we're providing you with medical advice. I want that disclaimer to be very, very
Absolutely.
clear.
This are
Um,
things that I've seen. These are things I've experienced, and these are
yes.
things that possibly can happen. Doesn't mean they will happen. These are
But
potential
one of
things.
the things that we see is number one, it's not an FDA approved, but it's been researched, like you said, till the cows come home.
Hmm.
My husband's hair has been thinning for a very long time. And while we can't make this particular medical claim, because this may not happen for everyone, his hair, I mean, I've had him on 2 rounds of this back to back. So we're a full 16 weeks in. His hair thinning has slowed substantially. Mine is growing so fast. And he's been very, very self-conscious. I don't think we took the before picture to compare it, but it is visibly, noticeably fuller on top. And I can't wait to see what his hair looks like in a year after he's been taking this. I know that a lot of nurse practitioners, doctors, and med spas are liking to use this, and they're using it in combination potentially with PRP,
Hmm.
plasma replacement for the hair, which is also really great, but it's excruciatingly painful. But I want to make sure we get a chance to give glutathione a little bit of the spotlight here because,
Let me say one more thing about GHK-Cu,
yeah,
just because with the one thing that I've seen a lot of benefit from, if patients have been on a GLP-1 and they've lost substantial amount of weight, again, I can't make this claim, but there is there studies out there, and you could, GHKCU could be one of those things that increases collagen and elastin. And when you've got that wrinkled skin after losing 50 pounds, and I've seen this in some of my patients that have seen that happen with them, and this has been a game changer for them. You want to increase confidence. Having a weight loss program does definitely increase confidence, but you don't want to cause something that's going to make it worse, with the sagging skin and all. So this has been a game changer for those patients in ways I can't even tell you.
100%. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, that stimulation of collagen production,
Mhm.
because that is so important. You want to lose weight slowly and steadily, not too fast. And this is
Yeah,
a way to help preserve that collagen. You're just not going to take an ingestible collagen product that's going to do what GHKCU is going to do for your body. Glutathione. I mean,
I
this
love this.
is,
I love it.
I have had such an energetic effect from glutathione, probably much similar to people have with NAD plus. And so I take it weekly now. I do not go without it, but it's your master antioxidant.
Hmm.
And it is such a strong liver detoxifier, which is phenomenal. I live here in Florida. And let me tell you, I'm going to do my darndest to get every one of my mom's snowbird friends on glutathione because let me tell you, those snowbirds, they come down here and they party hard. And I'm thinking, oh my God, liver. Y'all, I'm gonna like be walking around the campground and everything going, you need some glutathione and you need some glutathione and I mean, it is just so good for your body. I can also tell the difference in skin when you take glutathione.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I added when I started with the GHKCU. I started on glutathione. I'm on my third round of glutathione, and I can promise you, I had, like anybody else out in the South, I spent time in the sun when I was younger, and you don't really, we didn't really use sunscreen like we should have. So I had these sunspots on my face that I have used everything from crazy expensive to not, and everything in between, and nothing worked. Nothing decreased that hyperpigmentation until I started using glutathione. And I can promise you, the sunspots on my face have diminished almost to the point that you can't even see them. That is huge to me. I mean, I've actually posted on one of our Team Joy pages, and it's amazing the difference in those spots. The liver is, it's like it's the organ of longevity, if you will. That's what I call it,
It's
because
our redheaded stepchild. That poor
it
thing is
really,
getting beat up day in and day out.
it does everything. But here's the thing: is when you are outside and you're exposed to plastics and you're exposed to heavy metals and you're exposed to all the crap that's in the air. I mean, it is almost necessity that you take glutathione, because you need that, you need to get those toxins out of your system, and that is where glutathione works. It actually detoxifies those things. I've got people that have had alcohol issues in the past, and they've done this. I have had people that have had all sorts of issues, whether it's they've had long COVID, whether they've had, pneumonia, where they've had all kinds of things and they've been in the hospital and they've had, you know, significant illnesses where they've had to take a lot of different medications. Tylenol, for example, if you want Tylenol in your liver, I mean, Tylenol is one of these drugs that everybody takes Tylenol, but glutathione is one of those things that removes the toxin, in your body that Tylenol is there. I mean, it's metabolized in the liver. This is huge. I mean, the liver performs like over 500 vital functions. And if you, from regulating hormones to filtering blood to, you know, processing glucose to regulating clotting factors, all sorts of things. Glutathione is found its highest concentrations in the skin and the liver. So it makes sense that when you're using this, it's going to detoxify those areas. I mean, it's huge. It's such an important. I mean, I told somebody one day that, basically you could cycle on and off, and maybe you could do it like 2 to 3 times a year, that sort of thing. Well, I go to the mountains with my family, and my son was a little, snotty. My granddaughter was a little snotty. My mom got the same thing with a sore throat. I'm like, okay, when I get home, we're starting glutathione again. And I don't get sick. I work in a hospital. I am around sickness every single day. And now I may get sick tomorrow because I said that, but I do not. I mean, I just don't get sick. And I think healing your body, doing it the right way from the inside out, is such an important part of longevity. I want to add, yes, more years to my life, great, but I want to add more life to my years. And you can do that with peptide therapy. And it's such a paradigm shift for me, being in medicine for 36 years almost, that now we've got things that we can prevent things from happening. And that is where I think we've missed the boat with medicine is, we've waited for things to happen and we're very reactionary. We're not proactive. And that's what this whole paradigm shift is changing us to be a more proactive, with our bodies. And I think this wonderful thing.
One of the things that we say all the time is we believe in prevention over prescription, unless that prescription is for peptides, right? Because this is
Yes,
truly about regenerative health and longevity medicine. And so just to kind of geek out similar to you, Allison, I always like to say, I want to live my life 2 standard deviations to the right of the bell curve. And
absolutely.
so that's what these peptides are doing. So everybody, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. I
I'm gonna,
highly,
I'm gonna have to hop off because I got to
yep,
get on another
go
call.
right ahead. I'll close
Thank
this
you so
out.
much. Love y'all.
Thanks. I want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. Also, please reach out to whoever invited you to this Zoom if you have questions, if there's something that you would like to order. Everyone will have their own unique LEMD link. If you have any questions, you can also funnel them back over through the group. And we, again, none of this was medical advice. We are offering our expertise and our own experience. But we do have doctors in the LEMD telehealth platform that will be able to answer those medical questions for you should they arise. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. I appreciate you and have a good night.